to act. Do not delay.
Oh, good.
Thank you. The Chanting.org. The Change.org petition, which has over 750,000. So, if you want to stand up for your free country, what's left of it, and for a free country for your children and your grandchildren. Now, Frances came here many months ago and was so inspired by what we were doing here for Julian that she went back to her hometown of Armidale and she painted this sign up behind her with "Justice, Free Julian Assange." And I've invited Frances to come and have a few words. So thank you, Frances.
Well, there's nothing I will say that isn't absolutely what Julian Assange believes, what he would say himself. I'd just like to talk a little bit about peace as against war, which is exactly what Julian has always been talking about. You know, it's amazing when you think how humans, we're weird creatures, how easily we get into conflict with people. Look, just imagine your neighbour has loud, horrible music very early in the morning and wakes you up and the whole family gets cranky. You can go and throw mud on his house and shout abuse and call him a shithead, be vile, or there's another alternative. You could go and say, "Oh look, I'm really sorry mate, I just have to talk to you. My wife needs to sleep a bit longer, she's not well. Now, the music it's really a problem. Could we not have it a little bit lower? Look, I've got some spare earplugs. How about, or earphones? How about I give them to you, and until say 9 o'clock in the morning, you can listen to the music as loud as you like, but you know, now that would not provoke a ghastly, hideous war. In fact, it might provoke a new friendship. So, as a nation, we also can have peace with other nations by just using normal human friendliness. Now look, it's interesting, I only discovered this recently. Now, Anzac Day's coming up, and I grew up with huge honour for our saintly Anzac soldiers and how courageous they were. But the funny thing is, I've just recently discovered that just about the time of Gallipoli, the German government put out peace feelers to the British government and asked for a peace conference. This is in the beginning, early in 1914. Unfortunately, the British Empire, as it was those days, was so proud and so angry with any opposition, and it ruled the world, of course, they refused. Now imagine if there had been, in 1914, a peace conference. It would have been amazing. There would have been no Russian Revolution, because so many Russians died in the First World War, in the subsequent years. That probably wouldn't have happened. Then from that, then after, there wouldn't have been Versailles, that appalling peace treaty which imposed on Germany absolute horrors, blamed Germany entirely for the war and put enormous compensation. They had to pay for the whole war. So of course, what happened? Oh, Hitler rose, of course. Now, if there had been that peace treaty originally or mildly, there would not have been the rise of Hitler. There would not have been the Second World War. Spanish Civil War, these things would not have happened. I'm sure Julian Assange would absolutely agree that just by being reasonably friendly, you don't have to be over the top or just to anyone, just being friendly and reasonable. So that actually means listening to people whose opinions we don't agree with and we don't like, but listening in a friendly, normal way, not regarding them with horror and these vile people with ideas that are different from mine. We must, if we are to have any sort of peace, we must listen to each other kindly and with moderation but good humour. Honestly, so look what we are doing now. We're fomenting war with China. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's just like that thing of the neighbour. Oh, well, you know, you get on well with your neighbours if you're friendly and nice to them. We did, a few years ago, we were so friendly with China. We were buying so much of their things, all our TVs, and they were buying so much of our stuff. Our wine, our grains, so much. But it did not suit America, I'm afraid. I don't want to be attacking America, but we have to look at the truth, and it is actually the American government that is the place of huge power, enormous power, and there's vast amounts of money in war. The American military spend as much money on arms as the next 10 countries in the world together. It's just unbelievable. I mean, it sounds like just words, but it is the truth. And there's money. So, peace is just the only thing that matters. That we are kind and friendly to our neighbours and listen to them even when we don't approve of what they say. Listen, and we can try to talk them round to our point of view, but gently and kindly. That is what Julian was trying to do, and he's been punished and smashed as a result. Okay, peace be with us all.
Thank you, Francis.
Thank you, Francis. Francis has come all the way from Armidale, where she holds a weekly gathering with a couple of people on a roundabout that everybody drives past. And they've started honking, and I've suggested that she does a Karen honk for Julian sign. And she can maybe step up the honking. It's a very powerful thing to do at a certain location for people to honk for Julian. They do it at Marrickville outside Albo's office. Inmate Julian Assange. Our mate. Inmate Julian Assange. Our mate. Only one decision.
Don't extradition!
There is only one decision. There is only one decision.
If you want to have freedom and you want to have democracy, you better come and demonstrate, because they're taking it away little by little.
You can stand your ground, but I won't back down. Oh, baby, no, I won't back down.
Yes!
From the house of the gates and where you be found, I won't back down.
We need people to realise if you want justice for everybody, you've got to come out on the streets and tell the government we are going to expect they do the right thing by everybody. They can't just allow an Australian citizen who hasn't committed any crimes, who hasn't been prosecuted for any crimes, let alone in a public trial with a jury, to be just thrown in a dungeon and tortured. We can't allow public officials to do these things to human beings. It's outrageous. If someone did that to a dog, they'd put them in jail. Now recently we heard that the government had sent Stephen Smith, our ambassador, Australia's ambassador to the United Kingdom, to visit Julian. What's come of it? When they were asked what did they discuss, they said, oh, we can't mention it. Why can't they mention it? Recently the Prime Minister said the Americans know our position regarding Julian Assange, but he didn't say what our position is. He didn't say we've asked them to release Assange. Julian Assange cannot be held up for espionage against the Americans if he's not even an American citizen, for heaven's sake, let alone selling information to enemies or anything. Already top military personnel have testified that he hasn't done any harm to any of our military or any people. What the hell are they keeping him in prison for? He's been incommunicado for years and years now. Why are they afraid of him speaking to anyone? They can try and bring in censorship, but it won't work. The only thing that's going to work is the government behaving itself the way we would expect them to behave. And that is why we're here, and we want people to come and demonstrate, because the only way we're going to get justice is for us to stand here and say we're here until the government does the right thing by Julian Assange and stands up for human rights, speaks out against abuses of human rights, and stops removing our human rights. Cannot allow politicians to just throw people in jail. That's what they do in dictatorships. So please tell your friends this is a very, very important issue, and human rights are everything. Human rights are to protect people against dictatorships and despots and governments that throw people in prison they don't like and secretly kill them and torture them and frighten them. It's about the truth and people living decent lives. If this has got anything to do with Assange doing anything wrong, they've had 13 years to table the information and they haven't done it. So what's he done wrong? Why is he in prison? He's in prison to frighten other journalists from reporting on what the government's doing. They are trying to silence dissent. And the only way we can get the message of dissent across to the people is for more of us to stand in the street here and tell every Australian, this is your responsibility. If you want democracy, you better stand up for it. You want justice, you better stand up for it. You want human rights, you want to stand up for it. If you want to stop wrongful wars, you better stand up for it. I just say, my personal point of view is, the Americans have had 13 years to produce evidence that Assange has done the slightest thing wrong, and they haven't done it, so let him go. And they've got information he's done a crime, table the information, and then prosecute him in a public trial with a jury of his peers, which is our human right under our age-old British system of justice. Free, free, Julian Assange. Free, free, Julian Assange. Free, free, Julian Assange. Only one decision, no extradition. Only one decision, no extradition. Only one decision, Julian Assange. Free, free, Julian Assange. Inmate, our mate, Julian Assange. Inmate, our mate, Julian Assange. Our mate,
Julian Assange.
Please come join us here. Let the government know they are not going to sweep this under the carpet and have this issue disappear.
Julian Assange stood and stands for peace. He wanted to stop the wars because he knew they were based on lies. We sent our troops to Iraq based on lies. He wanted to protect the defence men and women going over there who often come back destroyed mentally or physically. or they come back in a box. Julian wanted to stop that. He wanted to stop the death of 1 million Iraqis and the displacement of who knows how many. On the 11th of April, it was 4 years since Julian was arrested and put in Belmarsh prison. He's not been charged with any crime, and yet he's in a high security prison in the UK for 23 and a half hours a day. And that will go on unless we stand up and stop this atrocity.
Oh, please do.
We as Australians should be protecting Australia and Australians. But it seems our governments, the last 2 governments, have only wanted to protect the US and their vindictive attack on an Australian citizen, a journalist. So we just go back and remember they took away his shaving gear so that when he was arrested, he looked dishevelled and people would smear him. And they've done a great job of that. There've been plenty of lies told about Julian, and a lot of people listen and believe those lies. Then when he went to prison, he was told he'd have to do some health tests. He was told he had HIV. He was positive for HIV. And apparently it's very unusual to get a false positive for HIV. But they said, no, Julian, you've got HIV. And he was beside himself, knowing that he had 2 little children and a wife that he may have exposed. And then later they said, oh no, sorry, that was wrong. You're not HIV positive. They didn't give him his warm clothing in the harsh UK winter when COVID was rife. He couldn't prepare for his court case because he wasn't allowed to see his lawyers. So he asked for a computer, and eventually they gave him a computer to prepare. But those keys were glued down on that computer. So it was just another vindictive act against this man. And he's been there for 4 years. And we can see from the Stratford files that WikiLeaks published, this is part of what they want to do to this man. They just want him caught up in the system until they either kill him or he gets sent to the US where they'll kill him. So please everyone, stand up for Julian, ring your local member. I know it seems that you're talking to a brick wall, but it will get through. We have to win this. Free Julian Assange.
Free Julian Assange!
Let sunlight enter Westminster space. Reflect, reconsider Julian's case. You need to go it alone. He's being held without charge. It ain't that hard. Free Julian Assange. Say no to extradition. It ain't that hard. Free Julian
welcome the 177th week of Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gatherings. We must free Julian Assange from imprisonment and political persecution because Julian stands for transparent democracy, which is something we all need. If democracy means anything, governments must be transparent so that they are under the democratic control of the people. If we don't know what our governments are up to, they can do anything they like. History clearly shows us that governments haven't always acted for the benefit of the people they are meant to serve. So it is vital there is government transparency to allow the people to have democratic control. Julian is known for setting up WikiLeaks, which makes it possible for ordinary people to be more informed about government and corporate activities. Julian's journalism came to the fore when the government of the US was greatly embarrassed with WikiLeaks publishing information that revealed war crimes of the United States of America. In 2010, Julian received many death threats from prominent figures in the US, but Julian defiantly continued publishing. Julian's eventual imprisonment demonstrated that the governments of the US and the UK are operating above the law. The Australian government is very closely aligned with the US and UK. The new trilateral security pact, known as AUKUS, demonstrates that these three countries are closely working together, militarily, scientifically, and technologically. The governments of Australia, UK, and the US are served by media narratives. The Australian government is so protective of its alliance with the US and the UK, it willingly overlooks its duty to diplomatically intervene to help Julian gain his freedom, even though there is an abundance of compelling evidence that Julian Assange is completely innocent. We are informed that the Australian government is quietly working to free Julian, but we have zero evidence it is doing anything beyond making out that it is doing something. The highly publicised visit of Australia's High Commissioner, Stephen Smith, to His Majesty's prison, Belmarsh, to visit Julian Assange has produced no indication that Julian will receive diplomatic support that is so necessary for his survival. Stephen Smith's visit to His Majesty's prison, Belmarsh, may be an indication that the Australian government is realising there is strong support for Julian and that it needs to be seen to be doing something. If we are going to bring about enough fear for non-transparent power to free Julian Assange, we need to be able to demonstrate our unity for transparent democracy. Julian Assange is completely innocent. His style of journalism is necessary for transparent democracy. It is important that we unite We must unite and free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Free Julian Assange. Thank you.
We put away the wrong people. This guy's for the world, not for himself. Help him out, guys.
Thank you.
Good on you.
Free Julian Assange! Thank you so much.
Free Julian Assange.
And it was only after Packer had gone that finally Ryan got the
Free Julian Assange?
Yeah, fucking oath.
Inmate!
Our mate!
Julian Assange!
Inmate!
Our mate!
Julian Assange!
Inmate!
Our mate!
Julian Assange!
Only one decision. There is only one decision. Free, free. Free, free. Free, free. Thank you. They are unable to find one law that he has broken. Julian Assange is completely innocent. Julian Assange is a truthful journalist who's won a Gold Walkley Award and international awards all around the world for his accurate, truthful, important public interest journalism that is making the world a safer, better place. Thank you, Julian Assange. Thank you.
We are all Assange.